Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today for another installment of the Research Webinar Series hosted by our team here at the Michigan Virtual Learning Research Institute, or MVLRI. The goal of MVLRI is to expand Michigan's capacity to support new learning models, engage in active research to inform new policies in online and blended learning, and strengthen the state's infrastructures for sharing best practices. MVLRI is a division of MVU, or the Michigan Virtual University, a nonprofit organization whose mission is advancing K-12 education through digital learning, research, innovation, policy, and partnerships. MVU is also the parent company of Michigan Virtual School, a supplemental state-sponsored virtual school, Michigan LearnPort, an online professional development portal for K-12 educators and personnel, and MyBlend, a blended learning initiative providing K-12 schools with resources, products, and services to personalize learning options for their students and improve student achievement. A quick disclaimer before we get started today. This webinar will be recorded and shared publicly. Consequently, anything shared during this webinar, including chat comments, could be shared publicly. This webinar may represent a presenter's or an attendee's personal views, opinions, conclusions, and other information which do not necessarily reflect those of MVU and/or the Michigan Virtual Learning Research Institute and are not given nor endorsed by MVU/MVLRI unless otherwise specified. Today will be the third in our four-part series on virtual school research needs. These webinars provide a way for K-12 online learning programs to introduce themselves to the research community and share their research needs for cultivating collaboration, for moving the field forward, and improving practice. The series started from discussion among members of the Virtual School Leadership Alliance, which is an association of the chiefs of multiple virtual schools that provide collegial support and collaborative opportunities for its members and member organizations. For that reason, we wanted to acknowledge the Alliance and direct you toward their website, which is www.virtualschoolalliance.org, for more information on their work. I'll now take a moment to introduce today's presenters. Today, joining us from Michigan Virtual University, we have our own Catherine Kennedy, who is the senior researcher with MVLRI. Catherine joined MVU in 2014. She received a PhD in curriculum and instruction with a concentration in educational technology from the University of Florida. Dr. Kennedy formerly served as the Director of Research for the International Association of K-12 Online Learning, INACOL. Her practical experiences include pre-service and in-service teaching, technology specialist, and school librarian professional development for technology integration and instructional design in traditional, blended, and online learning environments. Her research interests deal directly with her practical experience and concentrate mostly on education professionals and their preparation for next-generation learning models, including but not limited to online and blended learning environments. We also have John Englander, who is Director of Curriculum and Instruction for the Virtual High School, a nonprofit education organization serving over 8,000 students from 700 schools and districts across the country and abroad. VHS's catalog of over 180 courses includes 22 AP courses, core courses, and a plethora of electives across all disciplines. John is responsible for overall coordination of all curriculum and instruction initiatives for VHS, including development and management of strategic learning initiatives, coordination of professional development, and oversight of student courses. He has over 15 years of experience in online learning, having worked as the Associate Director for Online Learning at Facing History and Ourselves, which is an international educational and professional development nonprofit organization in Brookline, Massachusetts. Previously, he was a designer for VIS Corporation and Big Mind Media. Englander received a BA in English from Yale University and lives in Acton, Massachusetts. Lastly, we have Dr. Eliz Colbert, who joined the team at North Carolina Virtual Public School in 2013 and currently serves as the Executive Director. She has over 20 years in service to North Carolina Public Schools, including 12 years as a school administrator and 6 years leading professional learning initiatives at the state and local level. These roles have allowed Eliz the opportunity to study and deploy best practices in learning for students of all ages through the online classroom. She is a graduate of the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill and received a doctorate from Teachers College, Columbia University. She's the proud mother of 2 children who attend North Carolina public schools. We want to thank our presenters so much for coming and sharing with us today. With that, I will hand it over to Dr. Catherine Kennedy from the Michigan Virtual University.
Thanks so much, Justin. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, perfect. And hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. As Justin mentioned, I'll be talking about Michigan Virtual School, which I'll refer to as MVS, and our research needs. This PowerPoint was put together with the help of a team of folks from MVU, including Tamara Bayshore-Berg, who is the Executive Director of Educational Programs from MVS, Kristen Flynn, who is the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for MVS, Joe Friedoff, who is the Executive Director of the Michigan Virtual Learning Research Institute, and also Jamie Fitzpatrick, who is the President and CEO of Michigan Virtual University. So first, a little bit about MVS. MVS is one of the larger state virtual schools in the country with 21,253 course enrollments. That was recorded in school year 2013-2014. MVS is a nonprofit organization that works in partnership with K-12 schools across the state of Michigan to supplement and expand online learning opportunities. So we work closely with about 500 Michigan schools right now, and MVS offers nearly 200 online courses to students through online web-based services using Michigan certified teachers. MVS was created in 2000 to serve both traditional and non-traditional students, and since its inception, we've recorded over 159,000 course registrations. In 2011, we were awarded a 5-year accreditation renewal by Advance Ed, and MVS is a core division of the Michigan Virtual University, or MVU, which is a 501c3 nonprofit corporation. So I want to talk a little bit about our staffing model. It includes both part-time contracted teachers as well as full-time teachers. We also have an instructional design team who helps to create about 40% of our content, and then the remaining 60% of that content is typically purchased from vendors. And for the purchased content, that 60%, our instructional design team usually can and will make modifications there as well where we can do so. So here are some topics that Tamara Bayshore-Berg and Kristen Flynn particularly wanted to share with the research community today. Unfortunately, they had other commitments, so they couldn't join us. But you could call this their wish list for research being done for MVS. They'd like to have research done to find out what instructional strategies, intervention practices, and assessment approaches are highly effective in online learning. Additionally, they want to find out what is the most effective means of providing remedial and credit recovery courses. Additionally, they'd like to know of effective strategies for engagement, instructor-to-student communication, as well as parental involvement in online learning environments. And finally, one last research wish from MVS specifically is to look at the effectiveness of open entry, open exit delivery models. So what works and what doesn't work within those models that exist currently. We also wanted to share with you some examples of research that has been done within MVS in the past and is currently being done now. First is a dissertation example, and that was done by a researcher who is on our team, Dr. Kristen DeGruler. For her dissertation, she examined self-regulated online learning principles in math courses within MVS. You can learn more about her study at the following link. I'm going to drop this into the chat box. There it is. Another example of research done at MVS is work done by university professors. I'm offering a few examples of that here, including Dr. Chin C. Lin out of Michigan State University, who is looking at motivation, self-efficacy, perceived progress, and what matters in achievement in online courses. Another example is Dr. Susan Lowe's, who I see here today of Columbia University's Teachers College. She and Pei Lin are working on looking at online students' learning trajectory paths and how students progress in their coursework, and what are the early warning signs for students who are not successful, and where do you come in to help them and offer strategies for improvement. Another university faculty example is Dr. Jared Borup. He's out of George Mason University, and he's currently working with Becky Simpson on our team, looking at mentoring models, what student supports are needed, and what are the characteristics of effective mentors for students in K-12 online learning environments. We also work directly with organizations, and two projects that we're working on right now or have been done in the past are SRI International study on their Algebra 1 courses, and I'm going to paste that link here in just a second. There it is. And finally, we are also doing work with the Virtual School Leadership Alliance that Justin had introduced in the beginning on larger studies across their multiple members. Currently, we're just finishing up a teacher career ladder study where we're looking at recruiting, training, supporting, and evaluating online teachers, and it's a cross-case analysis of teaching infrastructures across 8 K-12 virtual schools, and that should be published starting in February. So we also put together a slide to show you what MVS and the researcher who proposes a study to us are responsible for when we're working together on a research project. The researcher is responsible for providing the scope of project statements. What's the project about? What is the significance of it to the community at large? And they're also responsible for signing an MVU confidentiality and non-disclosure agreement, since you may be working with student data and other data that would be considered privacy issues coming into play. Additionally, the researcher is responsible for the teacher and parent consent forms and the IRB training and approval processes, as well as deciding on what data gathering tools will be used for the study. MVS would help with the research support letter that would go to the parents whose students may be involved in the study, as well as a research support letter to the instructor or instructors whose courses and students are involved in the study. So in addition to MVS-specific research requests, each year, MVU's research arm, which is the Michigan Virtual Learning Research Institute, or MVLRI, is charged by the state of Michigan to conduct research about key legislative directives. And these are used to inform practice of K-12 online and blended learning in Michigan, but also across the United States and internationally as well. Some of these directives are listed here as an example of what we're asked to do every year. MVU publishes an annual report demonstrating what research has been done by the Institute to answer these directives. I'm including a link to last year's report in the chat box so you can see what types of research has come from that. And again, this was from 2013. Ours will be coming out from this year, probably early spring. So how can you as a research community help MVS with research initiatives? First, you can apply for the MVLRI Fellows Program to do work with within MVS and other programs. And I'm going to put a link into the chat box for that. There it is. You can also co-apply for grants and foundation funding with MVS and MVLRI. And you can also propose to do research with the Virtual School Leadership Alliance, where you can leverage data of the many members of that organization. So thank you so much, and I'm happy to field any questions anyone has in the chat box while the next school jumps into their presentation.
Thanks, Catherine. Very informative. Get to remind myself of things that I sometimes forget about my own organization. So thank you again for sharing. Next we have John Englander and I believe possibly Jeff Elliott from the virtual high school. So I will hand it over to them.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me okay? Great, excellent. Well, thank you so much for having us to this webinar. I'm the Director of Curriculum and Instruction at the Virtual High School. Jeff Elliott is our CEO, and he's also here and happily can pipe in as we go along. What I'll do is provide a little overview of the history of the Virtual High School and the current state, and then some of our current things that we're looking at around research concerns and needs. So we've been around the Virtual High School. We're actually one of the first to enter this brave new world of online learning, and we did so through a government grant in 1996. In the early 2000s, we became a nonprofit educational organization and grew our consortium of schools. We're at 700 plus. Currently, a large percentage of those are in Massachusetts and the New England area. However, we are worldwide and in most of the states. And we have about 20,000 enrollments each year. Yeah, it says there are 47 states and 34 countries. We're an accredited organization by mid-states and middle states and advanced ed. We actually just had the mid-states visit last week to be reaccredited for 7 years, and it went great. And there's always been a strong research focus through our existence. It was nice to see Dr. Lowe's is on the call, who's knows us very well and has done research on our work for years. Basically, the way we work, we're a consortium of schools. We have about 200 unique courses. Originally, we started with the idea of being able to offer courses to rural schools and schools that might be under-resourced, to be able to offer them rich electives that students and teachers could really be passionate about. And we still have a huge part of our catalog is still devoted to that. However, we also now have core courses. We have, as you see there, 22 AP courses, including quite a few STEM courses and that have the lab component. We have a hands-on lab kit that we send out for our AP chemistry course. We use Genius as our student information system, and D2L is our learning management system. Our schools in general supply the teachers. We probably contract with about 20% of our teachers, but most of our teachers come from our member schools, and we're dealing with around 400 to 500 teachers each semester. We put the teachers through a very rigorous training course that we pride ourselves on. It's called Online Teaching Methodologies. It's a graduate level methodologies course. It has, in its current form, it's 6 weeks of intensive online learning that is cohort-based and teacher-led, that models exactly the same way we deliver the courses to our students. And the teachers learn not just the concepts of facilitating online, but they also are given the course that they're going to teach and are able to emerge from the program capable and prepared to teach in the classroom and to teach their specific course. So it's been a really valuable part of our program and something we're really proud of. Once the teachers start teaching, we have curriculum coordinators and faculty advisors on staff who work with the teachers, and then veteran teachers, master teachers will also help mentor. So it's, for us, the relationship is really key. And we're also, and I'll talk about this later, starting a variety of blended initiatives with schools we work with and districts. Just to give you a sense of our model, we are asynchronous but not self-paced. We are scheduled, paced. Our semester courses are 15 weeks. Our full year courses are 33 weeks. And although they are almost all asynchronous, and I'll talk about that as well later in terms of research needs, each week there's a cohort of 25 at the most students with a teacher going through together, building a reflective classroom community, which is a key part. There's a lot of collaboration, discussions, and we found that that type of learning, that pedagogic approach, is really helping to prepare kids for college and beyond, and improve their critical thinking skills. Just a few quality indicators. We have a very high retention rate, 93%. So this is some of the things that tell us we're at least doing a lot of things right. Our AP exam pass rate is above the national average considerably, and students, the vast majority of our students are positive in their responses. We had, I think, over 6,000 responses last spring alone. And just the sort of makeup of our students, 94%, and the vast majority, 92%, are attending four-year college after graduation. So that sort of sums up very quickly who we are and what we do. I want to move on now to some of the priorities that we're thinking about for research moving forward. So the first area I want to talk about is an incredibly important one to us, and that's the school support piece. You know, when I look at the work we do and how we deliver our program, it's sort of like four legs of a table. You have obviously the teacher and the curriculum. You also have the students and the student-created content and the discussion and the peer-to-peer that is so important. But what we've also found, but never studied specifically and in detail, is that the site coordinator, that's what we call the person assigned at the school who is working with the students, not just around administrative details of enrolling them and choosing which students are going to take the courses, but literally working with them week to week and day to day to check in with them, to advocate for them, to make sure they're doing the work, is a hugely, we think, we guess, important part of our program. And we would love to do more research about that. Also, support elements that can help that, such as codifying and aggregating the data from our student information system and our LMS to create a dashboard of information and design a dashboard that could really help these site coordinators. As Chris, you asked, is the site coordinator equivalent to a mentor? Not exactly in some ways, but the site coordinator is not sort of content specific, has content specific skills necessarily. We have a huge variety of courses, as I said, in all disciplines. But the site coordinator is there to sit down and try to help kids talk through things. You know, there's another piece, which is students potentially getting content-related help through mentoring on site. So we really are interested in not just qualitative, but quantifying how site support impacts student achievement. Moving on to another area that we're interested in and always has been, and Susan Lowe's has studied collaboration and synchronous communication. So again, we really pride ourselves and have a big emphasis on group work and discussion in our courses. We're interested in how that impacts student achievement. And interested in a few different ways. How does it compare to projects in brick and mortar settings? We're also interested in, as I said, even though we're mostly asynchronous, as we move forward, one of our goals in the next 5+ years is to increase our use of synchronous tools. We're in a unique situation where we are dealing with students from all different time zones, and all different schools. So having, a class every Thursday from 9 to 10, that's not something that we can do. But we can have office hours, we can have just-in-time connectivity. So those are some of the elements that we're starting to use and really interested in how that will affect student outcome. Personally, I feel like the relationship building piece of that, but student to teacher, is so critical to the student learning. I'd love to research more and see if that hypothesis is correct. And finally, talking about the development of these 21st century competencies that are talked about so much, but really are so important. The ability for students to communicate, to collaborate, to develop the time management and self-regulation skills that they need to be successful. How well are our courses doing that, and what can we do to do that better? Another piece is around blended learning. We have several now projects that are ongoing where schools or districts are taking our course curriculum and using them in a blended way in their schools. And we're looking, there's a lot of different ways, obviously, that schools are doing that. Some might be just taking the resources that we have and working that into their school. Others might have a few days of face-to-face instruction and a few days of online instruction. What pieces work best as online delivery? So that's something we're very interested in and really starting to get involved in. As you know, we have a history of doing professional development, and what is the most needed areas of that for teachers around blended learning. We also, thinking about Michigan specifically, we enroll several hundred Michigan students in a few different high schools. We do have one particular high school that has a deep implementation of virtual high school in both, including their students both in our main membership and model, but also taking some of our courses and applying it in a blended model, making it work for their trimester system in different approaches. So there's a real fertile soil there with that particular school to do some really interesting and deep research. So I'm going to pass it over now to Elizabeth, and I will take any questions you have in the chat area. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'd like to do a sound check as well. Can you all hear me? I'm coming in from the great state of North Carolina, and I'm very excited to be here with you all. I too will do an overview of North Carolina Virtual Public Schools, and I'm going to start with this slide that shows our enrollment history. NCVPS started in 2007 and 2008 with a legislative mandate to provide courses to high quality learning opportunities to students across the state of North Carolina, regardless of zip code. And you can see how our enrollment has grown over the years, but I want to point out that in North Carolina, we count enrollments in full credits. And I know that's not true in some states. So for North Carolina, these numbers are full credits. In the Keeping Pace book, for example, our enrollment shows to be over 104,000 if it's counted in half credit. So I just wanted to make that point. We are the nation's second largest virtual school next to, we're way behind Florida Virtual. But anyway, we're excited to have grown like we've grown. So these are the types of courses we offer. I'm going to talk about our occupational course of study program. It is our fastest growing program, and we are interested in some research around occupational course of study. We have advanced placement courses, credit recovery courses, and our credit recovery courses are teacher-led. We provide honors courses, and the bulk of our courses are in the general ed column. We have about 150 courses in our catalog for the students of North Carolina. These are the different schools that we serve. We serve public and charter schools, and the funding model for that, for the students, the schools in the green, is that it is free for the student to enroll. We also have a growing population of homeschool students and private school students, and there is a fee associated with those two types of students. So I just wanted to point that out. And so some of our research needs, we are interested in North Carolina in being able to show the case of how NCVPS does, how students who come to us compare to students in the brick and mortar classroom. So the first one is about just doing a comparative analysis of our data in the standardized tests and the AP exams compared to the students who take the course and take the test in their brick and mortar school. And the data is available. This is a large, of course, a large data set, but we'd love to have someone give us some help and energy around that kind of comparative analysis. We have also started down the road of working with the Quality Matters group and doing some work around quality assurance. And I forgot to mention, with me is Melissa Davis, who is our quality assurance coordinator, and she also heads the research arm of NCVPS. So she's on tap to answer some of your questions as well. So she may get a question, she may get an answer from Melissa. But we're interested in comparing where we are with our inputs and our outcomes as compared to the report published by Quality Matters, measuring quality from inputs to outcomes, creating student learning performance metrics and quality assurance for online schools. We're interested in how we compare. Now, the Occupational Course of Study program. In case you're not aware, Occupational Course of Study are the group of students in our state and in other states with significant learning needs. They are often hearing impaired, but they often have Down syndrome, severe cases of autism. And our Occupational Course of Study program combines the NCVPS certified content teacher with a special education teacher in the school to teach the courses. Because as you all know, it is very difficult often to find in a high school a special ed teacher who also has the content certification to meet all the learning needs of a group of students, whether they're self-contained or they're mainstreamed in some way. So this program was born out of a need from the school leaders in North Carolina to teach these students well, and how do we do that? So this program has been growing like a weed. I say it all the time. It had last year over 12,000 full credit enrollments, or 24,000 half credit enrollments, however you count it. And this year, for the first time in the fall, we had to close sections because we just didn't have enough teachers to meet the demand. But the key question in that program is, what's happening? Like, what's happening between our online teacher and the face-to-face virtual teacher that is making this program so successful? And what strategies are they deploying individually or together to help students achieve? And is there continuity across teaching pairs? Are teachers who teach in this program, teach in the Occupational Course of Study program, they do get training on universal design for learning. We have strategies around relationship building we require. We have strategies around targeted feedback that we require. But what is really going on? That is a study we are much interested in. Oh, well, that's excellent. Thank you, Dr. Lowe's. As a TC graduate, I'm so excited to be here with you. So we are interested in getting under the hood, so to speak, of the occupational course of study program and seeing what's happening. So related to that is North Carolina Virtual has 4 instructional practices. We call them in North Carolina instructional pillars that we train our teachers on, and then we check on their use of these strategies. They are teaching through the learning block in the LMS, providing targeted feedback, and we don't mean good job, we mean these are things that made your work great, these are strategies to improve it for next time, very targeted feedback. The third pillar is building strong student-teacher relationships. We do not want a student to ever feel disconnected from the teacher just because of this medium. And then differentiating the course to meet students' needs, whether that's speeding it up or slowing it down or adding extra work or remediating a certain skill. So those are our instructional pillars, but the question here is, are the teachers using these with fidelity? What is the value add? Is one of these strategies or instructional practices more powerful than the others? So those same similar instructional pillars live inside the occupational course of study program with a slightly different emphasis on how they're used. Okay, so I'm just talking about, I don't see any questions. Oh wait, sorry, wrong way. And then finally, we in North Carolina have the benefit of having a statewide one teacher evaluation rubric and process for all of the face-to-face teachers across the state. It's a statewide evaluation tool that's been in place for probably 5 years now. While there are 6 teaching standards, numerous indicators, and while the teaching standards also apply to the online teacher, the indicators do not. So in terms of online teacher evaluation, what matters most? And if we have to in North Carolina, we'd have to grow an evaluation process off of what's already established in the legislature around teacher evaluation. But what would matter most in terms of evaluation for teachers across our state? And that is the end of my section, and I did not put my contact information in there. I'm sorry about that, but I'll type it in the chat bar. And I can answer the questions in the chat. So the question about the OCS students, they are enrolled in their own sections of courses, if you will. So we have occupational course of study, Math 1, occupational course of study, English 2, for example. So they are sections designed with these learners in mind. And while all of the students in the section are not in the same school building, they come from schools across the state, they are in a course built for them in mind. I hope that answers your question, but I'm glad to answer any others that come in the chat while the webinar is wrapping up. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was a great overview of your school, and again, some great ideas being tossed around. It looks like we have a question from Catherine, actually, for Liz and John. So you guys have mic rights. I will mute myself and let you field that question that she has about processes that researchers go through to conduct research for your or through your different.
Yes, we do, and Melissa Davis is the contact for that. We do have a protocol around the kinds of research we're interested in, and then of course the same similar things around student confidentiality and that kind of thing. I did not include it, but I can put Melissa, oh good, thank you Melissa, put her contact information in the chat, and we're glad to share that out in a way that's meaningful.
Yeah, hi, this is John. I would just add, besides the student confidentiality piece and student data, I wouldn't say we have one particular process, but whenever we have done research, it's really, we really look at it as a real partnership, a chance for both us and the researcher evaluator to explore things that really matter to each other. So that's really all I'll say. We really like working very closely and very transparently with each other.
Thanks very much. That was a great question to address, Catherine. So I want to thank, again, our presenters for coming and sharing a little background about their organizations. I want to thank all the folks who attended, the researchers. I think this is a great venue and opportunity to get folks connected to actually be able to present some of these questions and go down the path of some really great and actionable research. We do want to mention our upcoming webinar, which will be the fourth in this four-part series, which is tomorrow. I have Thursday there, but that's actually Friday, 12/19 at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, the fourth part, we'll have representatives from Ideal, New Mexico, Montana Digital Academy, and Wisconsin Virtual School. So those folks will be sharing some of their backgrounds on their situations, the context in which they're working, and some of the research questions that they'd like to have addressed as well. I did want to mention some other MVLRI programs. We do have a guest blogger program, so if you're interested in writing for our blog based around virtual learning research, I encourage you to check out that link there to learn more about the program and how to apply. And Catherine also touched upon our Research Fellows program. We do have a request for proposals there. We have a very thorough application process, so if you're interested, you have some research that you think would kind of align with our own mission and vision and you'd like to apply for a fellowship, please check out the website there, read up on it, and send us an application. In the meantime, if you'd like to contact with us or keep in touch with us, you can reach out to us via email, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and check out our YouTube channel, which is where we host the recordings of these webinars, which we know are incredibly helpful for those of us who are on a lot of different varying time schedules. So with that, I'll go ahead and mute myself. I'll let some of the rest of the activity play out in the chat window. If you have any questions for us, feedback on the webinar process in general, anything that you'd like to share with us about the webinar series, we are all ears. Thanks everyone. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of your Thursday. Take care.